have a damn good reason for running off.
Hello there you sexy survivors, and welcome back to another Pure Play TV video review. And today we're going for a walk with the dead with The Walking Dead Onslaught for PlayStation VR and PC VR. The version tested in this review is PSVR running on PS4 Pro. The Walking Dead franchise has spanned comics, TV, games and soon even movies. Most of the output has been great, with the few dead weights being in the gaming category, unfortunately. The Walking Dead survival instinct still hurts to this day. Damn you, Activision. Damn you. Thankfully, The Walking Dead Onslaught is not a dud. It's amazing, and honestly, did we really expect anything other than great from Survios? In this review, I'm going to tell you about the game's story, gameplay, controls, and more. Stick around and find out why The Walking Dead Onslaught is one of my favourite VR releases of 2020 so far. Before we carry on with this review, please do us a favour and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, as well as the bell icon so that you're the first to know when we've got new stuff for you to watch. Cheers my dears! Onslaught is a VR only game, and that means you will need a PlayStation VR headset. You'll also need two PlayStation Move 1 controllers, as there is no support for DualShock 4 or the PlayStation VR aim controller. It makes sense because you do use your hands quite heavily in this game, from digging knives into heads to smashing off arms and legs, and of course using the arsenal of guns that the game offers to you. So make sure you've got a couple of PS Move controllers charged up and ready to go. The Walking Dead Onslaught has the distinction of being officially canon with the long-running TV series. However, the story doesn't quite hit the standards set by the TV show. Still, it's better than being stuck on the farm for Season 2. The story hits hard and it hits fast, constantly keeping you moving through its linear levels littered with the undead, with a few breakout moments in between. The story is broken up into chapters, and it's all Daryl's story, and it's told via flashbacks. I wasn't sure about this at first, but I actually came to quite like it. Rick and Daryl talk to each other in the present while you're playing in the past, and at times it fits quite nicely with the fireside dialogue complementing what you're doing as Daryl. It's a decent story of Daryl being Daryl, and by that I mean he's obviously trying to save somebody, and in this case it's a young girl. He might be a brash redneck, but he's the sweetest and most kindly one around, and stepping into his boots for a while was good fun. Aside from, but connected to the story, is the scavenger section of the game. You have your main hub, which is the survivor town of Alexandria, and from here you've got options. You can talk to an injured Daryl by the fireside to start his chapters, but they are locked behind progression in Alexandria. You need to unlock the chapters by building up your town and getting new survivors to join you. You do this by going over to the board, where you'll find Michonne is always stood with her clipboard at the ready. On the board is a map, and on the map are locations that you can visit to do supply runs. This is a game mode all by itself, but it's still connected to the progression of Daryl's story, the main campaign. You pick who you want to play as, and you've got the option of Rick, Michonne or Carol, and then you head out and do scavenger missions to find food, medicine, new weapons, ammo and other crafting items needed to upgrade your town and your weapons. From the job board back in Alexandria, you will also find item requests from other survivors, and you'll have to search for these during your scavenger missions. Upgrading Alexandria has its perks too, although it does feel a little tacked on. You're basically getting buffs and extra resources by expanding Alexandria's buildings. It's a neat little part of the game, but it is in no way a major component. But, like everything else in Onslaught, it complements the rest of the game, and gives you one more reason to go on scavenger missions. Scavenger missions are by far my favourite part of the game. The story is fine and it's cool to get more of The Walking Dead and actually be a part of the story. But scavenger missions are where you can go for some instant gratification. They're also necessary to find new weapons. Scavenger missions are broken into different mission types. One tasks you with getting from one point to another while looting whatever you can get your hands on, all the while with the herd snapping at your heels. The herd is represented by a big red mist and silhouettes of walkers. It doesn't look all that frightening to be honest, but knowing that they are always just a little bit behind me did get my heart racing a few times. You can explore buildings too, but you have to be mindful of the encroaching herd. Get too caught up in your looting and you may find yourself overrun. As the herd gets closer, more walkers spawn in, and you can get quickly cornered if you're not careful. I had this happen to me a couple of times, and each time I imagined it was my exit from the show, so I went out in as much style as I could muster before the run ended and I was back at base. Another scavenger mission type has you doing the same as before, but at the end you need to hold off the walkers for a set amount of time while Eugene brings the van to pick you up. This is my favourite part of the game, and it's not just because Eugene's dialogue is 100% on point, but it did make me wish that the game had co-op, so I would have my colleague Jez backing me up when the going gets tough. Alas, it's not to be, and that's a great shame, as Scavenger Mode would definitely be more fun with a mate. I still enjoyed it for what it was though, but my screams were heard by nobody, and that's a pity. I must admit that I was a little apprehensive about using the PlayStation Move controllers for physical combat and gunplay, but I needn't have worried. It works great, and again, Servius has shown why it's one of the top dogs in the VR space. I did have the occasional tracking wobble when I went to reach down to get ammo for my gun, but it was negligible. Occasionally the game would display a red outline of my hand, presumably because it couldn't track the glowing orbs. It was annoying, but hardly a game breaker, and with a little fiddling of my setup, I did manage to reduce it. Gunplay is great and encouraged just as much as melee combat. Levels are littered with plenty of ammo, much more than you would think, so there is little risk of running low on bullets. At least that's the case on the normal difficulty. Ramp it up a touch and you'll find less ammo and health, meaning you'll have to get creative with your killing. There are a load of guns to find and upgrade too. I'm nowhere near getting the full upgrades for every weapon, and I reckon I've got a couple more weeks of nightly play before I get there. Physical combat is satisfying too, and Servius has taken the lessons learned from previous games and applied it here, and that includes a decent control scheme. The game has a few options when it comes to how you move around in the surely stinky world of the Walking Dead Onslaught, including free movement and teleportation. I tried them all and I stuck with free movement, and again, to Servios' credit, the controls are great, even with the less than ideal PlayStation Move ones. The left move button moves you forward, while double tapping it will get you running. Strafing is mapped to the face buttons on the left controller, while turning left and right is mapped to the other. It did take me a little while to get the hang of it, but once my brain was comfortable with the setup, it was second nature. Still, personally, I'm hoping this one comes to the Oculus Quest at some point, because I've been spoiled by those beautiful movement sticks and wire-free play. Melee combat has a great physicality to it, and it's helped by the game's responsive controls. You can grab walkers by the throat if they try to come in for a little cuddle. From here you can either stab them in the head or pop a few rounds in their face. I often chose the latter, but early on in the game I did enjoy replicating scenes from the show. I'd run from one walker to the next, grabbing and stabbing them in quick succession. I even ate a tin of cat food afterwards to really get into the spirit of things. On the graphics side, it's a decent effort, and on PS4 Pro at least, the game looks good. It's not mind-blowing, and it's not quite hitting the same highs as Blood and Truth, but it's a decent looking game all the same. It performs admirably too, with no stutter or slowdown, just a smooth walker killing experience. There's a lot to like about the Walking Dead Onslaught, and very little to complain about. My only gripes with the game are that it doesn't have co-op, and Andrew Lincoln doesn't voice Rick Grimes. Instead, it's a poor sound-alike, but I can, and I do, improvise my own Rick dialogue, and on occasion, I will hold a walker by the throat, bring them in nice and close, and whisper into their ear. "This isn't a democracy anymore." Other than that, it's easily one of the best PSVR games to date, and without question one of the best Walking Dead games too, if not the best. I've not finished Saints and Sinners yet, but I'm leaning towards Onslaught for the sheer fun factor and the fact it puts me inside one of my favourite shows alongside my favourite characters. And that's the end of this review. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and if you did, then do us a favour and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. And don't forget the bell icon too, so that you're the first to know when we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've survived this video, and I'll see you next time. Until